Christmas morning arrived on Space Station Harmony. The common area still glowed with lights from the previous night's celebration. Hajun arrived early, carrying a small box wrapped in silver paper that sparkled like starlight skin. Commander Daesung found him adjusting the box's position near the Christmas tree. "Are you ready?" the commander asked. "I hope she understands what it means," Hajun replied. His hands were steady from years of combat training, but his heart beat faster than during any security crisis. Soon, other residents began arriving for the Christmas morning gathering. Many aliens who hadn't attended the night before came to see what the humans would do next. They had heard stories about the celebration from those who attended. Yina entered with Mayray. Her natural glow seemed brighter after the previous night's festivities. When she saw Hajun, she moved toward him with excitement. "Merry Christmas," she said carefully, using the human greeting she had learned. "Did I say it correctly?" "Perfect." Hajun smiled. He reached for the silver box. In human tradition, Christmas morning is when we exchange special gifts. The room grew quiet. Even the aliens who had just arrived sensed the importance of the moment. They had never seen a human give a gift to one of their kind before. "This is for you," Hajun said, holding out the box. "I made it to speak in both our languages." Yina's glow pulsed with surprise. Her hands trembled slightly as she accepted the gift. Following the human customs she had studied, she carefully unwrapped the silver paper. Inside was a crystal unlike any she had seen before. It was shaped in the traditional starlight pattern that meant friendship, but it held something more. Tiny lights were embedded within it, arranged in the pattern of Earth's constellations as seen during Christmas. When she lifted it, the crystal caught both the station's lights and her own natural glow. The combined light created patterns that danced through the crystal, telling a story of two different worlds coming together. "The patterns," Yina whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "They're the sacred formations of my people, but they're made with human stars." Hajun nodded. "The engineering team helped me combine starlight crystal patterns with Earth constellations. Every culture looks up at the stars. We just see different pictures in them." Yina held the crystal higher, letting everyone see how it captured and transformed the light. Other starlights in the room recognized their traditional patterns. Humans saw familiar star arrangements, but together they created something entirely new. "It's beautiful," Mayray said, studying the crystal. "It speaks in both voices without losing either one." Yina's glow brightened until she lit up the whole area around the Christmas tree. In starlight culture, such a display of emotion would be considered inappropriate. But today, no one seemed to mind. "Thank you," she said to Hajun, "not just for the gift, but for showing everyone that different doesn't mean wrong. That strength can come from caring, not just from fighting." As the crystal caught the Christmas lights and starlight glow, it created patterns on the walls that looked like stars seen through Earth's atmosphere, twinkling, dancing, alive with possibility. In its light, the differences between humans and aliens seemed to fade, leaving only the connections they had built. The evening of December 24th transformed Space Station Harmony. The common area glowed with hundreds of small lights. A real Christmas tree stood in the center, brought from Earth months ago for this special moment. Its green branches carried ornaments that sparkled in the station's adjusted lighting. Commander Daesung surveyed the decorated space with satisfaction. The station council wasn't sure about this, he told Hajun. "But look at what you've created." Hajun adjusted one last string of lights. He wore his formal uniform, but without the usual security equipment. Tonight, he wasn't on duty. Tonight, he was simply a human sharing his culture with others. "Will any aliens actually come?" he asked, trying to hide his nervousness. "Some have already asked permission to attend," Daesung replied. "Your friend Yina has been quite persuasive." At that moment, Yina entered the common area. She stopped in the doorway, her silver glow pulsing with wonder at the sight before her. The Christmas lights reflected off her natural shimmer, creating small rainbows in the air around her. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "Is this what Christmas looks like on Earth?" "Something like this," Hejun said, walking over to greet her. "But it's not just about the decorations. It's about bringing people together." More station residents began to arrive. At first, the aliens clustered near the exits, uncertain. But the warm lights and gentle music seemed to ease their worry. Several Starlight researchers followed Yina's example, their combined glow adding to the festive atmosphere. Mireille arrived with a group of scientists from different species. "We studied Earth's Christmas traditions," she explained to Hejun. "We wanted to understand." The human crew members had prepared traditional Christmas foods, modified to be safe for different species. They explained each dish's meaning and importance. Some aliens were surprised to learn that humans attached so much significance to sharing food. "In our culture, eating is just for survival," one Starlight scientist said to Yina. "But humans make it mean something more." "That's what humans do," Yina replied, her glow bright with excitement. "They find meaning in simple things. They make ordinary moments special." As the evening continued, something remarkable happened. The usual divisions between species began to fade. Aliens asked humans about the decorations. Humans learned about how different species celebrated their own important moments. The common area filled with conversation and laughter. Hejun watched it all from near the Christmas tree. He saw Commander Daesung explaining the tradition of candy canes to a group of curious aliens. He noticed Mireille teaching some human children how to properly greet a Starlight elder. Most importantly, he watched Yina moving through the crowd, her glow brighter than he had ever seen it. She wasn't the outsider anymore. Her understanding of both human and alien cultures made her a natural bridge between worlds. The station's night cycle began, but no one wanted to leave. The Christmas lights twinkled against the darkness of space visible through the windows. In their gentle glow, differences between species seemed less important than the connections they were building. As Hejun touched the special gift he had prepared for Yina, safely hidden in his uniform pocket, he knew that tomorrow would bring an even bigger surprise. But for now, watching his friend shine in the Christmas lights was the best gift he could have asked for. December arrived on Space Station Harmony, bringing with it a change in the station's lighting to match Earth's winter schedule. Hejun noticed how the dimmer lights made Yena's natural glow stand out more. It reminded him of Christmas lights back on Earth, twinkling in the winter darkness. One morning, Hejun sat in Commander Daesung's office, discussing his idea. "I want to organize a Christmas celebration on the station," he said, "not just for humans, but for everyone." The commander leaned back in his chair. "That's never been done before. The aliens might not understand." "Yina understands," Hejun replied. "And others are starting to ask questions about human traditions. After the security breach, they see us differently." Daesung nodded slowly. "What exactly are you planning?" "A small gathering in the common area, Christmas decorations, maybe some traditional foods." Hejun paused. "And I want to give Yina a special gift, something that shows the connection between our cultures." "You'll need help," Daesung said. "I'll talk to station management." In her lab, Yina was surprised when senior researcher Mireille approached her with an unusual request. "Officer Kim asked for information about starlight crystal formations," Mireille said. "He said it was important." Yina's glow brightened with curiosity. "What kind of information?" "About how they reflect light, how they hold meaning in our culture." Mireille watched Yina carefully. He seemed very interested in the traditional patterns. Throughout the next week, Hejun spent his free time working on his plans. He studied starlight crystal patterns in the station's database. He learned how they used different arrangements of light to express meanings that words couldn't capture. The human crew members noticed his dedication. Some offered to help, bringing out decorations they had kept from Earth. Others shared their own Christmas traditions, suggesting ways to make them meaningful to aliens. One evening, Hejun visited the station's workshop. The engineering team had agreed to help him with his special project. They worked carefully with the crystal materials, following the patterns Hejun had designed. "This is beautiful work," the head engineer said. "But will she understand what it means?" "I hope so," Ho-jun replied. "It needs to speak in both our languages." Meanwhile, Yena noticed changes in the station. Small lights appeared in corners of the common areas. Strange green plants called holly decorated the corridors. The human crew members seemed excited about something, but no one would tell her what was happening. "They're planning something," she told Myrae. "Something about Christmas." Myrae smiled. "Perhaps you should let them surprise you. After all, isn't that part of gift-giving in human culture?" The word gift made Yena's glow pulse with excitement. She had been studying human gift-giving traditions extensively. The idea that objects could carry messages of friendship and care fascinated her. Her own people saw possessions as purely functional, but humans gave them deeper meaning. As the station's Christmas preparations continued secretly, Ho-jun worked late into the night shifts, making sure every detail was perfect. This wasn't just about celebrating a human holiday anymore. It was about building a bridge between two worlds that had misunderstood each other for too long. In the quiet hours of the night cycle, while most of the station slept, a new kind of light was being created, one that would shine with both human warmth and starlight grace. The station's common area was quiet during the night cycle. Ho-jun liked to visit during these hours when most residents were asleep. He sat at a table near the large window that showed the stars outside, drinking his coffee and reading reports on his tablet. A soft silver glow caught his attention. The starlight researcher from the lab had entered the common area. She carried several data tablets and didn't notice him at first. When she did see him, she stopped. But unlike others, she didn't run away. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't know anyone else would be here." Ho-jun smiled carefully, trying not to look threatening. "It's okay. The common area is for everyone." The starlight researcher looked at him with interest. Her glow brightened a little. "You're Officer Kim, the one who trains in the combat room." "Yes, but you can call me Ho-jun." He noticed the images on her tablets. They showed human festivals and celebrations. "You're studying human culture." She nodded and took a few steps closer. "I'm Yena. I'm researching human traditions." She paused, then asked, "Is it true that humans give each other objects for no reason?" Ho-jun couldn't help but laugh. "We call them gifts. And we usually have reasons. Birthdays, holidays, or just to show we care about someone." Yena's eyes widened. Her glow brightened more. "That's what I thought. But the others say humans only care about fighting." She stopped herself and looked down. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't say such things." "It's okay," Ho-jun said. "I know what they say about humans. About me." Yena sat at a nearby table. Not too close, but closer than any alien had willingly come to him in months. "I've watched your training sessions," she admitted. "You're very skilled. But I noticed something others don't see." Ho-jun raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "You never strike to cause pain. Your moves are precise, controlled. You disable the robots without destroying them." She looked at him directly. "That's not bloodthirsty. That's protective." Ho-jun was surprised. No one had ever noticed that before. "You're very observant." They talked for another hour. Yena asked about human holidays and traditions. Ho-jun explained about Christmas, Easter, and birthdays. He learned that starlight people didn't celebrate anything. They thought marking special occasions was inefficient. "That sounds lonely," Ho-jun said. Yena's glow dimmed slightly. "It is. That's why they think I'm strange. I want to understand why humans celebrate, why they give gifts, why they—" She struggled with the word, care. As they talked, neither noticed Commander Daesung watching from the corridor. He smiled to himself. Maybe this was what the station needed, proof that humans and aliens could be friends. The station's morning cycle began. Other residents would wake up soon. Yena gathered her tablets. "I should go. The others wouldn't understand." "Will you come back tomorrow night?" Ho-jun asked. I could tell you about more human traditions. Yena's glow brightened again. I would like that. As she left, Hejun felt lighter than he had in months. Finally, someone on the station saw him as more than just a warrior, someone who didn't run away. In her lab later that day, Yena couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. For the first time since coming to the station, she had met someone who didn't think she was strange for asking questions. She looked at her research about human Christmas celebrations with new excitement. Maybe she could learn even more now. Neither knew it yet, but that night would change everything on Space Station Harmony. In the weeks that followed Christmas, Space Station Harmony changed in ways no one had expected. The crystal Hejun gave to Yena stayed on display in the common area, where its special light continued to tell its story of friendship between different worlds. One morning, Commander Daesung called Hejun to his office. The commander stood by the window, watching the station's daily activities below. The station council has made some interesting decisions, Daesung said. They want to create a cultural exchange program. They're asking you and Yena to lead it. Hejun looked surprised. Both of us. Who better? The commander smiled. The bloodthirsty human and the strange starlight who proved everyone wrong about each other. In the research section, similar changes were happening. Senior researcher Mayray had given Yena a larger laboratory, with space for both human and alien students to study together. The walls displayed images of Earth celebrations alongside starlight crystal patterns. Your research into human cultures has become very popular, Mayray told Yena. Even other species want to learn now. Yena's glow, once dim from loneliness, now stayed bright and steady. Other starlights no longer avoided her. Instead, they came to her with questions about humans, eager to understand the species they had once feared. The combat training room changed too. Where Hejun once trained alone, now he had company. Some aliens asked to learn human defense techniques. In return, they taught him about their own ways of protecting others. The room became a place of learning instead of fear. One evening, Hejun found Yena in the common area, teaching young humans about starlight crystal patterns. The crystal he had given her sat in the center of their group, its light making patterns on their faces. The patterns tell stories, she explained, just like human Christmas lights tell stories of warmth and friendship. Later, when the students had gone, Hejun and Yena stood by the window looking at the stars. The station's lights reflected off the crystal, mixing with Yena's natural glow. Do you remember when everyone called you bloodthirsty? Yena asked. Yes, Hejun replied. Just like I remember when they called you strange for asking questions. Now they come to us for answers. Yena's glow brightened, because one human took the time to show that being different isn't wrong. The station had changed in other ways too. The common area now had both human and alien decorations. Different species shared their celebrations with each other. The corridors no longer fell silent when humans walked through them. Commander Daesung often stopped by to watch the changes happening on his station. He saw humans and aliens working together, learning from each other, finding ways to combine their strengths. Who would have thought, he said one day, that a Christmas gift would change everything? But it wasn't just the gift that changed things. It was the understanding that came with it. The knowledge that strength could come from caring, that differences could bring beauty, and that friendship could bridge any distance, even the space between stars. In the light of Yena's crystal, Space Station Harmony had finally found its true meaning. It had become a place where bloodthirsty humans and strange aliens discovered they weren't so different after all. They were all just travelers in the vast darkness of space, learning to shine their lights together. The loud alarm of the combat training room echoed through Space Station Harmony. Inside, Hejun Kim moved with deadly grace. His movements were quick and precise as he faced off against 3 training robots. The watching aliens pressed their faces against the safety glass, their eyes wide with fear and wonder. "Look at how fast he moves," whispered one green-skinned alien to another. They say all humans are like this, natural warriors. Hajum didn't mean to scare anyone. He was just doing his daily training. As he finished the last robot with a perfect strike, he heard the familiar sound of feet shuffling away. The aliens always ran when he finished training. They thought all humans were dangerous. They called humans bloodthirsty. On another part of the station, in a quiet laboratory, a young alien named Yena sat alone. Her skin had a soft, silvery glow, a mark of her starlight species. But unlike other starlights whose skin shimmered brightly, Yena's glow was dim. She was different. While other starlights studied space travel and energy fields, Yena wanted to learn about humans. More human research. Senior researcher Mayray asked from the doorway. She was one of the few who didn't avoid Yena. You know the others talk about you, right? Yena's glow dimmed even more. I know, she said softly. But humans are interesting. Everyone says they're dangerous, but their history shows so much more. They make art. They celebrate special days. They give each other gifts. Mayray shook her head. Just be careful. Especially around that security officer, Hajun Kim. I heard he destroyed 10 training robots yesterday. After Mayray left, Yena looked at her computer screen. It showed pictures of something humans called Christmas. There were lights, decorated trees, and people smiling as they gave each other wrapped boxes. It was all so different from her own people, who thought showing emotions was a weakness. Later that day, Hajun walked through the station's main hall. As usual, aliens moved out of his way. Some even went into other corridors to avoid him. He was used to it, but it still made him sad. Back on Earth, he was known as the guy who rescued stray cats and helped old ladies cross the street. Here, he was the bloodthirsty human. Commander Daesung waited for him near the security office. Good training session today, Kim, he said. But maybe we should turn down the difficulty level. You're scaring the aliens again. Hajun sighed. With respect, Commander, we can't lower our standards. What if there's a real emergency? The station needs properly trained security officers. True, Daesung agreed. But maybe we could invite some aliens to train with us. Show them we're not just warriors. As they talked, Hajun noticed a silvery glow from the corner of his eye. In the nearby research section, a lone starlight alien sat at her desk, watching human videos on her screen. Unlike the others, she didn't run away when she saw him. Instead, she looked curious. That evening, as Hajun prepared for his night shift, he thought about the lonely starlight researcher. He had seen her before, always by herself. The other aliens avoided her just like they avoided him. Maybe they weren't so different after all. From his security station, he could see her lab was still lit. She was working late again, her silver glow providing soft light in the dark room. Hajun wondered what it would be like to have someone to talk to who didn't think he was a monster. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a story that would change everything on Space Station Harmony. Over the next few weeks, Hajun and Yena met every night in the common area. Each time, they shared stories about their cultures. Hajun brought his tablet, showing Yena pictures of Earth's celebrations. Yena's glow always brightened when she saw them. What is this tree covered in lights? Yena asked one night, pointing at a picture of a Christmas tree. That's a Christmas tree, Hajun explained. During December, humans bring trees inside their homes and decorate them with lights and ornaments. It's part of celebrating Christmas. But why bring a tree inside? Trees belong outside, Yena said, confused but interested. Hajun smiled. It's about making something beautiful, about creating joy. He paused. Don't starlight people do anything to celebrate special times? Yena's glow dimmed. No, we mark the passage of time, but we don't celebrate it. My people say emotions are inefficient. She looked at the Christmas tree picture again. That's why they avoid me. I ask too many questions about emotions and celebrations. During their talks, Other residents of the station noticed the strange friendship. Whispers spread through the corridors. Some aliens said Yina was brave to sit with the bloodthirsty human. Others said she was foolish. One evening, senior researcher Mayray found Yina in her lab, looking at Christmas decorations on her computer. "You're spending a lot of time with Officer Kim," Mayray said. "He's not what everyone thinks," Yina replied. "He knows so much about human traditions. Did you know they have a holiday where they give gifts to show love and appreciation?" Mayray looked concerned. "Be careful, Yina. Your glow gets brighter when you talk about human things." The other starlights are talking. But Yina didn't care anymore. For the first time, she had found someone who understood her curiosity. Hajun didn't think she was strange for wanting to know about emotions and celebrations. Meanwhile, Commander Daesung called Hajun to his office. "Your combat training scores are still perfect," he said, "but you're spending less time in the training room." "Yes, sir," Hajun replied. "I've been learning about starlight culture from Yina. Did you know they can change their glow based on their emotions? But they're taught to suppress it." Daesung smiled slightly. "You sound different, Kim. Happier." "I guess I am, sir. It's nice to have someone who doesn't run away when they see me." The commander nodded. "Just remember, not everyone will understand this friendship. Some humans think we shouldn't get too close to aliens. Some aliens still think we're dangerous." Hajun understood the warning, but he didn't care what others thought. As December approached on the Earth calendar, he had an idea. If Yina was so interested in human celebrations, maybe he could show her what they really meant. That night, when they met, Yina noticed Hajun seemed excited about something. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Christmas is coming soon," he said. "Would you like to learn more about it? Not just from pictures, but really experience it." Yina's glow became brighter than Hajun had ever seen it. "Is that allowed?" "I don't see why not. After all, Christmas is about sharing joy with others." Neither of them knew that this simple conversation would lead to events that would change everything on Space Station Harmony. But first, they would face challenges from both humans and aliens who wanted to keep their cultures separate. The first warning came during the station's night cycle. Hajun was showing Yina pictures of snow on Earth when the emergency lights started flashing. Red lights filled the common area, and a loud alarm echoed through the corridors. "Warning. Station security breach detected. All residents must return to their quarters immediately," the computer announced. Hajun stood up quickly, his security training taking over. "Yina, you need to get to safety." "But what's happening?" Yina's glow had dimmed to almost nothing from fear. Before Hajun could answer, Commander Daesung's voice came through his communicator. "Kim, we have intruders in Section 7. They disabled the security robots." "I'm on my way," Hajun replied. He turned to Yina. "Please, go to your lab and lock the door. I'll come find you when it's safe." As Yina hurried toward her lab, she heard shouting from the lower levels. Through the clear walls, she saw 3 figures in dark suits moving through the station. They were heading toward the research section where she worked. In the security office, Hajun and Commander Daesung watched the station's cameras. "They're after the research data," Daesung said. 5 intruders total. They've already stolen files from 2 labs. Hajun checked his equipment. "Sir, they're heading toward the biology labs." "That's where your friend works," Daesung finished. "Go. But remember your training. Don't let them see why they call us bloodthirsty." Hajun moved quickly through the station. His combat training had prepared him for this, but now he had more than just duty pushing him forward. Someone he cared about was in danger. In her lab, Yina heard footsteps approaching. She turned off the lights, but her frightened glow gave away her location. The lab door opened, and 2 intruders entered. "Perfect," one said. "A Starlight researcher. She'll have access to all the files." Yina backed away. "Please, I don't want trouble." The intruders moved closer, but suddenly the lab's emergency lights went out. In the darkness, Yina saw a familiar shadow move through the doorway. Hajun struck fast and precisely. Just like in his training sessions, his movements were controlled and efficient. He disabled the first intruder with a quick strike, avoiding any serious injury. The second tried to fight back, but couldn't match Hajun's speed. When the lights came back on, both intruders were unconscious but unharmed. Hajun stood in the center of the lab, breathing heavily. "Are you okay?" he asked Yina. Her glow brightened immediately. "You saved me, but you didn't hurt them, even though you could have." "That's not what humans are about," Hajun said softly. "We fight to protect, not to harm." Security teams captured the remaining intruders. Later, in Commander Daesung's office, Hajun learned they were thieves trying to steal valuable research data. "You did well," Daesung said, "but the aliens saw you fight. They're more afraid than ever." Hajun looked through the office window. In the corridor, he saw Yina talking to other Starlight researchers. Instead of avoiding her, they were listening intently as her glow pulsed with excitement. "Maybe not all of them are afraid," Hajun said. "Sometimes it takes a crisis to show people the truth." That night marked a change on Space Station Harmony. The aliens had seen a human warrior in action, but they had also seen something else, a protector who chose mercy over violence. And in December's approaching darkness, this understanding would lead to something even more unexpected. The day after the security breach, Space Station Harmony felt different. The morning lights revealed repair crews fixing the damage from the previous night's events. Hajun walked through the corridors, noticing how the aliens reacted to him now. They still moved aside, but their faces showed something new, curiosity mixed with their fear. In the research section, Yena sat at her desk, watching the security recordings from the previous night. She had played them several times, studying Hajun's movements during the fight. Each time she noticed something new. The way he checked if the intruders were breathing after he stopped them, how he positioned himself between them and her, the careful way he used just enough force to disable, never to harm. Senior researcher Mayray entered the lab, looking concerned. "The other Starlights are talking about last night," she said. "They saw the human fight." Yena's glow brightened. "Yes, they saw him protect us. Did you know he had combat training that could have seriously hurt those intruders? But he chose not to use it." Mayray sat down next to her. "You've been studying humans for months now. Tell me what you've learned." "Humans are not what we thought," Yena explained, her voice growing excited. "They don't fight because they love violence. They fight to protect what they care about. Their strength comes from their feelings, not from bloodlust." In the security office, Commander Daesung reviewed the incident reports with Hajun. "The station council wants to know why you didn't use more aggressive tactics," the commander said. "The intruders could have escaped." Hajun straightened in his chair. "Sir, I remembered what you taught me. Our job is to protect, not to punish. Using excessive force would only prove what the aliens believe about humans." Daesung smiled slightly. "Your friend Yena has been showing the security footage to other researchers. She's quite passionate about explaining human behavior." Later that day, Hajun found Yena in the common area. She was surrounded by data pads showing human cultural information. Her glow was brighter than usual. "The other Starlights asked me to explain more about humans," she said when she saw him. "They want to understand why you protected us." Hajun sat down beside her. "What did you tell them?" "I showed them how humans celebrate their connections to each other. How you give gifts to show you care. How you fight to protect, not to destroy." She paused, her glow dimming slightly. "But there's so much I still don't understand. Why do humans risk themselves for others?" Hajun thought carefully before answering. "Because connections between people are valuable, worth protecting. Like how I couldn't let those intruders hurt you." Yena's glow pulsed with surprise. "You were worried about me?" "Of course. You're my friend." That simple statement changed something in Yena's understanding. Her people valued efficiency and logic, But humans valued connections and feelings. Perhaps that was why humans seemed so strong. They had something worth fighting for. As December grew closer, more aliens began approaching Nina with questions about humans. Even some human crew members started asking her about Starlight culture. She had become a bridge between their worlds, all because one bloodthirsty human had shown her kindness. In the growing darkness of the station's winter cycle, a new kind of light was spreading. The light of understanding. And with Christmas approaching, Hejun began to form an idea, one that would show everyone the true meaning of human strength.